Yes, sir.
Can we
Awesome.
pause for a second? Is your mom doing your laundry? Is that what's
She's
happening
doing
right
my
now?
brother's laundry. I think here 1 minute. I'll be
Oh,
back in a second.
Sure, sure.
All right.
Right on the hit. Pulse bomb gets nothing effect. Tabs that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am Blazing Bob, and today I am rejoined by not a Georgia Peach. I play games. Welcome back to the show.
You might as well just say it. Rob has already branded me Georgia Peach. You can keep on the tradition.
I think Atlanta branded you Georgia Peach. Let's be real here.
Damn you, Georgia.
Well, yeah, tell the listeners where you've been, because you were not on the podcast last week and you were sorely missed.
Yeah, I was out of town. I was in my friend's bachelor party. He's one of my good old friends. He's getting married pretty soon, so we're out hanging out with him. We made it out to Vegas. It was my first time over there. It's a crazy town.
Yeah, I bet.
I didn't get too
Shenanigans?
crazy. No, I didn't get too crazy. I ate a lot though. Oh my god, they have a lot
That counts
of
as
food.
crazy. I mean, that works.
I don't know that anybody comes back from Vegas and says like, I just ate a lot of food.
I would.
I
Like,
did.
that's not a
I
thing.
was that guy.
Code.
Yeah, okay. I get it. Man code.
No, but
Yeah.
I had fun. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed on was that I made it to the huge esports arena that they have over there, and this huge casino is like this pyramid-looking thing. I'm like blanking on the name right now.
Aladdin?
No, not the
The
Aladdin.
Luxor?
Yeah, the Luxor. Yes, it's like this giant black pyramid, and inside they have an esports arena. And I was super excited because I made it all the way over there. I was like, oh yes, I want to get to see this. And when I got there, they were holding like the World Poker Tournament or something like that. So they had everything shut off. And the guy was like, dude, if I let you in right now, I'm gonna lose my job. And I was like, no.
Oh, what a bummer. What a bummer.
You're like, but
It
what are the
was-
chances you'll get caught? You know, like, can we deal here? Like,
To
we're
be
in
fair,
Vegas,
I
right?
don't look like a gambler at all. I would have looked like I totally out of place in that poker tournament.
Stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. I'm back though. I'm ready to get back to the routine. I've been catching up this week. But yeah, good times.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, another person who has been to Vegas and not me is Mel. Mel, how are you doing?
That's not true. I've never been to Vegas.
Shut up. I swear
Yeah,
you have.
really.
Oh, okay. Well, we need to make a trip. Slambo, we're coming to see you. And Boss, we're coming. All right.
Yeah,
And then,
no. Oh, is that all? You don't even care about how my day is or anything?
well, the last
if you
time
didn't
I
go to
tried to
Vegas,
ask
get outta
you
here.
and you didn't
Yeah,
want to
right?
answer. So, how was your week?
My week was wonderful. Thanks for asking, Bob.
Oh. And first appearance
sweet.
on the show, we have Ramses from Push the Point Podcast and Al by the Numbers. How you doing, Ramses?
Happy to be here. Enjoying life for the most part. I got a bug bite on my eye, so if my eye,
Oh,
if this eye just stops working halfway through, you know why at least. But pretty good.
I thought you were taking off your contact for a second there.
Oh, it doesn't look that bad. Like if I'm turned and then like I'll turn and like all like underneath here comes out. But
Are you sure it's a bug bite and not a sty?
it might be a sty. I'm really hoping it's not. I've seen a lot of dogs poop recently, so it could be a sty. Who knows? But
Well, I mean,
I
you
also
can get a sty from dust or anything that gets in there that's just not supposed to be there that your eye can't eat up, basically.
good to know. I'll do some work on it. But at any rate, yeah, been pretty good. We actually just wrapped our show. Happy to be here for the night. Hi, Mom.
Mom making a
but-
guest appearance. What's up, Mom? She totally can't hear me.
She definitely can't. But happy to be here, happy to be hanging out, and excited to finally make it on to, of course, our recap. It's been a while since I hung out with you guys in Burbank for week 1 of the season, and happy to finally make my way here.
Yeah, well, you get to hang out with us again here come BlizzCon, right?
Yes, sir.
Can we
Awesome.
pause for a second? Is your mom doing your laundry? Is that what's happening
She's doing
right
my
now?
brother's laundry. I think here 1 minute. I'll be back in a second.
Sure.
All
I'm
right.
just pointing out.
Well, with that little fun thing there, we're gonna go ahead and start moving into the show. First off, we'd always like to start the show by thanking our recap producer, Shazir. Just a heads up, guys, we did have some Patreon credit card, what's the word for it? Declines. And so if you do use a card, you might want to go check your Patreon and make sure that it is correct. If you want a pro tip, then what you need to do is use PayPal, because then you'll never have to worry about it. So it's just a little pro tip that saved me from having to go in and rechange my card constantly on Patreon. But thank you guys. Thank you to all our Patreons. Today we are going to talk Trainwreck jerseys. We're going to talk about the games. And we're going to talk about some of the takeaways from the games. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. First off, league news. Grand Finals tickets are available and on sale. Went on sale June 7th, which was
A week ago.
Yeah, and I thought it was early because I swear when I
No,
looked it up
it's-
first, it was supposed to be basically because I thought I was like, oh, that's when we're in Atlanta. But maybe I just read July when it actually said June.
When I take it
Like
back, it's
3
not a week
days
ago.
ago.
It's 3 days. No, the pre-sales went up on the 3rd, and that's why that's what I meant. The pre-sales went up a week ago, and then I think general tickets were released on the 7th.
Yeah, it is a super bummer for all of us here at Al Recap. Andres is not going to be able to go because that's when his friend's wedding is.
Yeah, I'm super sad about that because I actually wanted to go to Philly. I was excited to get to know another city. To me, Overwatch League is the perfect excuse to travel because
I know.
whenever you go, you have friends to hang out. A ton of people are there. They're into the same thing as you. So it's easy to just kind of like go to the games or go to whatever event or hangout they're doing before. And boom, you got your people right there. You get to explore a whole new city. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Yeah, it's been
Me too.
amazing for Mel and I just getting to travel to so many places because of this podcast and yes, having friends there, just already there, and then meeting
Makes
new
a huge
ones.
difference.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is awesome, but unfortunately, Mel and I can't go either. We are going to be in Sweden.
And that's why you're sending me. I appreciate you paying for my flight and my hotel, Bob. It's super sweet of you guys. I'll take the hit. Me and Brick, we'll cover it. We'll take care of it. No worries.
Got it.
Oh man, I wonder if Victor can go. That'd be really neat if he could. Speaking of which, I do want to give a shout out to Brick McVictory. Victor Young is our on-site interviewer and post-match correspondent, and he wrote his first article for Action Esports.
Yes,
So
sir.
He is published now. So if anybody's looking for someone to write for their, site or anything, reach out to him because I know he's trying to get his name out there. So you
It was a
can,
good article too.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's cool for him. A big shout out to him. So let's move on and talk about jerseys. So in the NFL, they call these like color rush jerseys. They weren't calling them that for this, but they're just
Maybe
alternate
because most
jerseys.
of them lacked color,
Yeah.
so they felt like they couldn't call them color rush. You know what I mean?
It's like everybody
Well-
just like wanted a black jersey.
I'm sure that like the NFL has like some sort of like copyright on like the phrase color rush jersey or something.
think so?
These are third kit jerseys. The 3K.
Got it.
Well, so the majority of them were pretty crappy. First off, what I want to do,
Hard disagree, Bob.
what I want to do really quick before we go in is I want to go around and I want to ask each of you to give me one of your favorite and your least favorite. Let's start with I play games.
All right, favorite. I'm gonna go with the Boston one. I think it's classy. Those lines in the middle, like the racing kind of lines, look really cool. I like the color palette. Plus, Fusions is wearing it, and he looks like super mighty in it. So that's an
He
extra
doesn't-
plus for me.
He does not look stoked to be wearing the jersey. If you see the picture,
He doesn't look
though.
stoked. He
Let's
still
be
looks
real.
mighty, though. I didn't say stoked.
And who is who's your least favorite?
Least favorite. There's a lot of least favorites here, but I'm just gonna go with the Atlanta one. It's not that it's that bad, but it's just I was kind of disappointed in it, and I'm sure that a lot of people will like it. I'm sure that some people like the color palette, and I'm sure some people will like the ugly ass peach on the left nipple, but I don't. And that one hits close to home because that's my team. I was excited. Oh, New Jersey. Never mind.
Never mind.
All right, Ramses. What about you?
So, least favorite is easy for me. It's the fuel one. The fuel one is because there's so much cool stuff you could do with the burn blue, like with the whole burn blue motif. There's a lot that you could have done with that jersey. You could have at least even like just done like the big flame, like on a half, like on the
That's
side,
what
like
I
a bunch of people
said.
did.
I'm pretty
And, like,
sure
it
it's
was
the
like-
only
it's-
jersey that's just the same jersey colored. It's
the same jersey.
It's a
It's like a
skin
recolor.
recolor. Yeah, it's exactly. I just thought of that too.
It's just a recolor. So
And
we're not
Bob-
talking legendary skin here. We're talking like common.
And some other teams might have bad designs, but at least they made a design. Like, I swear, it's probably I can just imagine that like NVS is like, oh crap, that was due today. Oh, okay.
That's exactly. Phoned it in.
Recolor,
Phoned
like-
it in.
recolor. Oh, Mickey will take the picture. Cool, like send. Like,
Jane
It's just-
Jane probably did it.
You
It just-
Photoshop that real quick.
Yep. He
The
was
mo-
just like, I got you guys.
just the most wasted potential because it could have been really cool. And honestly, if they continue to do these again next season with different ones, and there's like another jersey that's an alternative, this would even get better just because it is like you could make it like your blackout jersey for like blackout games, or like make it a special event jersey that they only wear for certain ones. But just biggest waste of potential for me.
I
My
do
f-
like the idea, right? Like the third jersey, and they enable the teams to get creative with them, and you can make it like a time limited, like this season only kind of thing. The concept is cool. I think that there's potential there. I don't know if the full potential was taken advantage of, though.
Definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. But who was your favorite?
I don't. Part of me wants to say Houston because I have to be whatever you would call like the closest definition you could be for a homer for someone who doesn't live anywhere near the area. But
I'm with you.
I think it's got to be the Florida Mayhem one. We finally got the Vice jerseys. We finally got the black, the light blue, and the neon pink, and it looks pretty good. I like how they actually did the whole neon like motif with the actual logo on the back. There's the the palm tree and the sand. I love how it looks. It's a shame that Florida is still going to be Florida, but I really like those jerseys. I think if this is what everybody else had to do just so that we could get the Florida jersey, then I'm stoked for it. And then the New York one's also really, really cool.
You can't
You
name
can only
two.
pick one.
No, Florida's my good one. I just honorable mention. Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. All right. Well, Mel, give us yours.
Okay. So I am going to say New York because I think New York was the most creative. I think that New York having like the New York City skyline within the logo on the jersey, super cool.
It was super cool.
I think it's like just really, really awesome. Now, a caveat before I say my least favorite is that I'm super disappointed that the Titans didn't make a pink jersey.
Me too. Me
I'm
too.
just saying, like,
The Titans
got
didn't
their
even
colors
make a jersey,
stolen.
did they?
So we can have 4.
they got their colors stolen, and then they didn't even make their third edition or their third 3K jersey their old colors. Like, come on, ball drop. But I'm gonna have to go with the Foot Locker Fusion being my least favorite
Foot Locker
because
employees.
The referees, dude.
That was so
Yeah,
funny
I'm
when
sorry.
when Malik said that when they came out. I was like, oh, Malik made a funny. It was really
it's
good.
like legit. They look like legit Foot Locker employees, and I have to argue with Andres on the Boston Uprising because I think theirs is really ugly too.
You don't like it? It looks good.
No, it's stupid looking.
Well, I
Harsh,
like it.
Mel, harsh.
I think the thing with all these though is that they're just going to be
So wait.
objectively outlandish looking. That
So is Boston your worst then?
I don't know. I went with Foot Locker Fusion.
Oh, okay. And then you did an honorable worst mention.
you can't
I
do
was
that,
just-
Mel. You can't.
I
do
was
that. You only get
combating
one.
Andres.
You
Yeah,
only
it's,
get one.
it's invalid because you made it after. Actually, it's a good jersey.
All right. Well,
No.
you mentioned the New York Excelsior, and so did Ramsey's, which makes me happy because now I can say my favorite is the Gladiators. The Gladiators I thought was really killer, like with the
Yeah.
big old lion coming in, and then Gladiators across the side. I thought it actually took advantage of some really neat design changes,
What's got
and
that
it wasn't
texturing
gaudy.
in the lion head too? Like
Yeah.
it's got like those swirls in it.
Yeah, and it wasn't gaudy. Like,
I'm shocked that
lots
you
of
like a
them are
purple
really.
jersey.
Yeah, I don't really like the color, but like the design is awesome. And then the worst jerseys, hands down, the Shock.
Nah,
Jesus, guys.
Nah.
Camo
It's
has been
bad.
out since like the mid to late 2000s. Like you don't wear camo, and then you don't wear ugly camo too. I
It
mean,
looks like a
come on.
Dudley
Like a
Boys
spla-
shirt,
like
dude.
a
I'm stoked
splashy-
for it.
Like a splashy camo. It's like a Splatoon camo.
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry,
like
but I'm pretty sure
paintball
Bob
camo.
has camo shorts. I just want to throw this out there.
But I haven't worn them since the late 2000s. Just they're in the closet.
I mean, technically,
I use 'em
we're
to
still
paint
in
now.
the early 2000s, right? Like late 2000s, would be
Sorry.
like 2050 plus.
2000s.
Like,
We're in the 2000. We're in the late 2010s.
got it.
Yeah, it goes by decade.
Oh, okay.
All right, so with all of that being said, why did 3 different teams go with black on black? Or Fuel really didn't go with black on black, but like it's gray or it's black on gray. You can actually read theirs, but like why did Washington, Fuel, and
Eternal.
yeah, why did they do that? I don't get it.
I don't know. I
Your
think it's kind of
guess.
cool. Like, I think it's subtle, right? Like, they're just more subtle jerseys. I think it's like a good look. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I just think it's black is easy to sell, right? It goes with everything. Usually it's a neutral color, so you don't have too much trouble. And like if you already have some of the teams have outlandish colors, so it seems like a safe bet, right? Like, oh, we already have all these bright ones, let's go for like a chill black.
Dre hit the point that I wanted to drive home. Gets
Mhm.
10 points. They did it because they wanted to sell more because people buy that. Like people like the black. That's why Fusion changed their regular jerseys to almost all black. So I think that's the reason that we saw so much black in all these different designs. But
I can't believe nobody mentioned, though, the Defiant jersey and how, like, super weird it is.
It makes sense with the rest of their branding though. Like when you look at what they're really going for, like a lot of their personal team merch really comes off as like a streetwear or like a hype beast, like kind of like that's the vibe I see a lot with it. So
Yeah, they're very
it
hip.
looks a lot more like that. I'm happy they made a choice because that's what I was a little annoyed with the black jerseys was that a lot of them just felt very much like, well, we know black's gonna look good, so we don't have to try that hard. At least they made a choice.
Do we know what it says?
Nope.
It's the same thing in 6 languages, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
no idea.
probably their hashtag or something, or maybe.
No, I mean, like, I don't know, hat? Doesn't it
Yeah,
say
for the,
hat?
people, for the people who don't know,
Bottom?
they just have a bunch of like letters. I assume it's Korean, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's weird.
And I really liked the Georgia peach ones. I thought they looked
Well,
good.
at least there's somebody out there who does.
I thought it was clever. And I say clever because I'm not from Georgia. So, like,
It's lost its cleverness over here. Everything here is named Peach. Everything.
Yep. And
well, see, they're embracing their home city.
Well, and
So-
Ramsey's talked about the like the '80s Miami Vice Miami jerseys, but the Spark jerseys were very '80s too. Like the black with the pink letters, like very '80s.
That
Mhm.
reminds me of like a race car driver. That's why I didn't pick them. Like I actually like the Spark jerseys, but it makes me feel like they're like in a race car instead of in Overwatch League.
The
When I
Valiant ones were okay.
the Valiant ones
Yeah.
are are good. They're like a nice they're not like outstanding, but like they're good. They're good jerseys.
Yeah, Valiant's not bad.
I think the ones that are interesting to me, like again, I applaud. I'm just happy that some people took choices with their jerseys, which is why I like the Spitfire ones, where they did the whole where they even showed hey, the RAF used to fly like pink Spitfire planes into sunsets at night, to use for camouflage. So okay, cool. There's a story there. It makes sense instead of just being I like pink, send. So
I like
Yeah.
camouflage. Done.
telling you, dude, it's the Dudley Boys shock jersey, 100%.
The Outlaws jerseys, I still don't get. Like it reminds me of those Dragon Ball Z jerseys where you have Goku on the back, like going like this, and they're like all like what even would have made it even more perfect if they were all silk. Because then they would have been just those jerseys.
Oh gosh. I mean the Outlaws jerseys are fine. I feel like I personally just prefer black. And so of course my team comes out with something that's not black at all because that's just the way they roll.
Well,
It's
the thing
fine.
with the Outlaws jersey though is that it's a reference to the retro jerseys for the Houston Astros, like the baseball team. It's a different color palette, but at least they made a choice. It's cool that they went after that. I like that at least. I think it might be the only Overwatch League jersey I get this year, especially because they're actually made by Into the AM and not Fanatics. So we know
the
that they're not
quality will
gonna
be better.
they're not gonna fall apart as soon as I hold them in my fingers. They'll survive. They may actually end up getting washed at some point.
Remember,
Although
dry
I've learned-
clean only. Dry clean only.
Dry clean or hand wash. I've learned this. Yes.
But last question about the jerseys. How do you guys feel they should be allowed to wear these? Once a stage? Do we really want to see these used constantly? What are you guys' thoughts on how often they use these?
I wonder if they have some restrictions. Like if the other team is already wearing similar colors, then you have to wear the away one at least. Or if it's free game since they're distinctive enough. Who knows?
I feel
But
like the other
it's up to the
team I feel like being colored similar to the other team though in esport isn't as detrimental as it is in a physical sport where you could mix up somebody on the field, right?
Yeah,
I
as
think
long as
their
they don't change
colors
the
in
color
game
in
are
game,
still
yeah.
but I don't know. I guess you don't want them to wear them all the time because I think it would hurt the brand, right? Everybody knows the London Spitfire is light blue and now all of a sudden they're pink, but I thought pink was Spark, right? So it's can get confusing, especially if you're getting new people watching and things like that. So I wouldn't suggest that it's a long-term thing. I think after maybe the league's a little bit more established, they can do something like the NFL does where hey, every once in a while they just wear those jerseys
Hmm.
just because they're doing it for some reason, right? But right now, I think they should wear them this week and then I think they should put them away.
I do love how the casters, the desk, nobody pulled punches. They made fun of the jerseys they wanted to make fun of, and I thought that was great. But let's go ahead and move on to some games. The first kind of story I want to talk about is the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign had to take on the Shock and the Titans this week, first week back, and they are what's considered to be by most analysts in the scene. Shock and Titans are the best two teams in the league by a long shot. And the Reign put up a fight against both. Did you guys get a chance to catch either of these games?
Oh yeah, I got
Mhm.
both of them, and I almost had a heart attack, especially on the game with Shock. Oh my lord, we came back. I have to say it. We've been doing really good. Or the start of stage 2 was really rocky, and it's understandable. We had lost a friend. Baby Bay had just joined. But we've defeated New York Excelsior twice. We've gone toe to toe with Shock, almost being able to defeat it. And we danced with Vancouver. I think that we didn't do as good against them as we did against Shock. And I think we'll talk about it, but I think in part that's because of our insider knowledge of Shock. But that being said, I'm really proud of the team. I think we have a top tier Lucio player, we have a top tier Zenyatta player, and we have a godlike Diva player.
I was just
I
about to
think-
say you better be mentioning Daco.
Oh no, he's definitely in there. I think that our main tank is fairly decent, and I think that Baby Bay, Baby Bay, my dude, he is
He's the
my
king.
only gripe. He's my only gripe with the
Hey,
team.
he's the
Sorry.
one
Really?
giving you insider knowledge. Come on. Like,
I both think he is the reason we made it that far against Shock, but also the reason why we lost against Shock. I'm sorry to say it.
but I also think like you
Mm.
can't judge a team who has to play the two best teams in the same week on going up against one of them well and then not having such a good performance. They still took a map on their second game. Like,
Oh no, they
you
had an amazing
cannot
performance.
prepare for both those teams in a week.
I am
It's not possible.
super happy with how we did. I am super happy, and I think that the whole team is playing really well. The thing is this though, if you look at the games, especially look at the games against Shock, really amazing performance. But what happens at the very end? Baby Bay basically panics. He gets 4 grabs eaten. If you eat 1 grab out of him, it's like, okay, good on the Diva. You eat the second grab, oof, all right, this Diva is doing really good. You eat more than 3, that's not the Diva. That's not the Diva doing that. That is you fucking up at one point. I'm sorry I'm cussing over here. But at one point, you messed up. You're firing those grabs in a way that is way too easy for the Diva to eat him.
Way too obvious.
Nobody gets 4 grabs eaten almost in a row, basically, is how they happen. So he's doing great, but he's making some key mistakes that could have won them the game against Shock and could have been done better against Vancouver Titans.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Johnu actually ate any grabs in their game. I know that during the shot game that he was just throwing grabs everywhere like crazy. But if I remember correctly, I even saw the stat where he didn't have any grabs eaten by Johnu.
He
Jano ate at least
improved.
one.
Like, well, the whole point is he definitely probably saw that in the Shock game and then improved going into the Titans game, but maybe was
Well,
overthinking that.
And
I don't know that I see Johnu eat as many grabs though as I do. Who's the Divan Shock? Now I'm drawing a blank.
Choi.
Troy
'Cause
Hoban,
Choi
Yeah.
eats everything though.
Yeah,
I will
he's
say
very
he's
good.
nom,
Num.
but not 4 grabs in a row. Good.
No, I agree. That's unacceptable.
Well, and I would also say though that I don't think you could put the blame squarely at Baby Bay's feet because Dogman likes a trance what we could call early. There's a couple times where
So does Jonak.
so does Jonak, but Jonak also has the rest of New York Excelsior behind him.
I mean,
I
we
think-
got Massa, we got Erster, we got Daco. We're not that far behind. We beat New York Excelsior.
Twice.
Twice.
I have to hold my tongue on that one. I think those are your two synergistic things you just have to like keep in mind is that like I agree with you wholeheartedly that Baby Bay needs to get better grab control, and we've heard so long like, oh, it's a coaching thing. You can coach it out of him. Like, we'll get there. It's like, okay, cool. Like, do it. Like, it's been a stage. Like,
No, I agree. He mechanically he's a great player, and I don't think that he doesn't have what it takes. He does. I think that he can perform at that level. The problem is that at that level, those mistakes are magnified. If you're
Mhm.
making that kind of mistake, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and it's gonna cost you the match probably. We had the play on Gibraltar where Baby Bay gets 3 grabs eaten, 1 on point A and 2 on point B. We were so close to winning that match that any of those grabs landing and us taking advantage of them could have literally won the
Mm.
match. One of the grabs was on overtime.
Yeah, and that
the play was right there.
Yep. And
when that
well,
last one lost in the game, like you're 100% like that.
well, and then you look at
I mean,
like
that lost them
people
the game,
like
but then-
Sinatra, who at the end of the game on Oasis does a heads up grab and traps them all in the room off of the point. And I mean, you saw Dogman after the game. He's like, "Oh no!" He's just like was like, "Damn, he outsmarted us big time." And I mean, that's the type of things Baby Bay is not doing. Baby Bay has incredible mechanics. Coaches have said that since the dawn of time, but he definitely fails at those little heads up plays.
And for example, you very rarely see a grab getting in from Sinatra, and it's very much because of technique. You see him grabbing in the weirdest places, usually against up a wall where it's impossible to get his grab eaten, right? Like he just waits around the corner. He's predicting already where the enemy team is going to be, and he does this very heads up grabs that are very hard to catch, right? Like no diva's gonna be aiming at you. Baby Bay is making this mistake where he's lobbing his grabs against the diva. And I feel like when you're playing against divas at the caliber of Shock, at the caliber of Vancouver Titans, that is a super risky play. And he's going for those like high risk, high reward plays where he's trying to just capitalize on the grab as soon as he sees it. But he's getting punished super hard because the diva is looking out for that. He's looking out for like, he knows that Baby Bay is right there. He knows his high charge. He's probably time for a grab. It's too easy to tell at that level what's going to happen, and it's unfortunate. That being said, though, I think he's a good player. He's blended really well, and the team overall is doing amazing. I am just super proud of Daco and Masa, especially if you go look at the game on Oasis on
Masa's killing it.
University.
Mhm.
I don't understand how we didn't win that game. And you know why we didn't win that game? Because Sinatra actually had one of the clutchest gravitons at the end.
That
And
was
using
what
his
I
graviton-
just talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the difference maker right there. But Masa, oh my God, so many opportunities that he was opening up. He was booping the Rhine and the Brigitte into the hole probably like 7 times
That was a bunch.
during the entire match, which makes him as good as dead. Basically, they're gone for like 10 seconds of the match. They have no front line. They have no pushing power. So we did so good. Like our team did so good. It's just those little details that really cost us hard.
Either way, though, I think Atlanta is leveling up. But let's talk about a team who might be leveling down depending on how you look about it. Let's talk about the NYXL, who beat the Outlaws 3-2, and then they 4-0'd the London Spitfire 2 days later.
I'm sorry. Did you say that they were leveling down? Why? Because they went 3-2 with the Outlaws. They beat the Spitfire 4-0. Okay, let's not.
Yep.
But the
Downgrade
reason that they
crap.
beat the okay, so it annoyed me on the desk about how they were just looking at Sombra's stats for SBB, and they were saying his Sombra looked like trash when they went up against the Outlaws, and it looked great when they went up against the Spitfire. Well, I'd like the desk to go back and actually look at that. Sabiobi's Sombra only looked like trash the first 3 maps because Houston wasn't playing goats. Sombra Goats works really well against a team playing goats. So, playing NYX XL, they killed it. Playing the last 2 maps
Playing
for
Spitfire, you mean?
yeah, sorry. But then the last 2 maps against the Outlaws, the Outlaws went full goats the entire time. And then Sabiobi looks like a freaking god. He didn't look good against heavy DPS weird comps, and I don't know why the Outlaws just decided to just throw in maps 4 and 5. But Sabiobi looked great for the entire week. If NYXL plays against goats, like they're gonna kill it.
Well, throwing in map 5 is the Houston tradition. I mean, let's not forget.
True.
But I think there's 2 points that people don't really think about with number one, Sabiobi, of course, I think they're bringing him back in the starting lineup because they're banking on some sort of meta shift for stage 4. and you want
I
to
think
get.
they're bringing him back in the lineup, just like they're bringing Linkster back in the lineup, because they don't like having one of their best players on the bench. And I think they're
Well, hold
finding
on,
a spot for
hold
them.
on. Let
Because
Ramses finish his thought.
I can
when I
interrupt.
when I agree with you there, but like I think what it is that they're bringing him out because they're anticipating a meta change for stage 4, and like you're saying, you don't want one of your primary guys, especially someone who's your team captain, riding the bench to the point where they start getting rusty, where they don't feel engaged and like up to speed with a competitive environment. So you get to like stage 4 and the meta has changed, and all of a sudden SPB's back out on stage, but he hasn't played in a stage or two, and he's resting. He's not hitting his shots the same way. So I think that's part of the reason. Like I think it's a good move for them to bring him back out, and then to actually steal a take from Howler, who we just had on Push the Point, literally before I got on, that SPB plays a different type of Sombra than a lot of other people play, in that he's a lot more focused about getting picks, whereas many other
SVP
Sombras.
plays a Tracer Sombra.
Well, but no, you saw it when they were playing London, where he would be in invis, and instead of just like running, getting a full clip on somebody and teleporting out, he would wait till Jonak would either like get a volley on someone, or where someone would get brought low, and then he'd come out of invis, get the pick, and then they'd start the fight. I watched at least 2 or 3 times where Badoshin would be hiding in the back trying to get a pick. He would get dinked by Jonak, and then all of a sudden SPB would come out, kill Badoshin, and then they'd rush London and win the fight.
Well, and my point was that he did the same thing in maps 4 and 5 against Houston. It's going to be a great strategy going up against a team that's running straight, regular 3-3 goats. But like it just annoyed me that everyone on the desk didn't realize the full storyline, and like SPB didn't look bad on Sombra. Sombra Goats was just a bad pick for the first 3 maps against the comp Houston was running.
Well, they got to prepare for when they play Shock in Vancouver, just because at this point, them trying to do New York Goats versus San Francisco or Vancouver Goats, they're going to lose that matchup. It doesn't matter. So you have to have some sort of ace up your sleeve when you get to that situation, if you actually want to take that game and maybe get to a finals.
True. What do you think? You haven't chimed in here.
I think that it's good for the Outlaws, right? They needed this. They needed to see that they're still got it, at least in a way. They didn't quite make it till the end, but New York Excelsior is a tough opponent, right? They lost against Atlanta twice, but they're still not a bad team. I think they're still one of the at least top 5 teams that we have in the league right now. So I think it's a motivational win for the Outlaws. It seems like their heads were up even after the game. It seems that they were motivated with it. They did a good performance. I like that they were playing Linkster, like you guys said. They're trying out new stuff. I think they're not giving up on their stuff they've been working on. And to an extent, it makes sense, right? They put a ton of work into their Sombra goats, into their goats in general. That's probably what they've been practicing the most.
They didn't even play Somber Goats.
I know they didn't. It was like they played Sombra in the first 3 maps when they weren't playing goats. Like they literally threw. Like whoever
Okay,
made
can I
that
talk about
call
them?
for them to play map 4 and 5 when they were 2 and 1, like literally people need to get fired. At this point, Houston is a better team than their staff is able to put out there, and it's getting ugly. But sorry, Mel, you were saying?
I just like that you came to me last on my team. I'm just saying, like
Well,
you went
you
to
interrupted like 4
Andres
people.
first.
They're my team
along
too,
the
so I
way.
mean it makes
Yeah,
sense.
but you're a guest, so you don't count. Okay.
Aw.
Sorry, truth hurts.
I'm gonna go hang out with my mom again. I'll be back.
But hey, she's doing your
Mom.
laundry. Don't interrupt her.
I'm not complaining.
Okay, so what I want to say about Houston is they killed it the first 3 maps. I mean, they made it pretty close. Even on Horizon, where they lost, it was still like last moment play could have gotten it, right? I don't judge them for going goats on Watchpoint. I do hardcore judge them for going goats on Oasis, because Oasis, you can go DPS comps and be successful.
And you can
And
run Farah every map there too.
right, I just don't understand what their thought process was behind. Oh, we got destroyed by Sabiobi on Sombra in map 4, so let's just do it again on a control map where Sombra is going to outplay us anyways, and we don't even sub in Dante to be our Sombra player, right? Like, we don't even have a Sombra v Sombra. Like, at this point, we're just like going at it goats v goats and trying to, I don't know, flip the odds. Like, but I will say, going 2 and 3 against New York, who is not in the top 5, they're number 2 in the season standings still. So I think that going against them and bringing it to 5 shows that there is a lot behind the Houston Outlaws. Now, again, yes, consistency, coaching, all of those things we could cause to improve on for sure. But I don't think it's one specific thing that you can point to that you can say, this is the issue, right? I do know
True.
they just got sold. So Immortals just bought Optic Gaming. They obviously cannot
Have
keep the
to.
Outlaws because they have the Valiant. So they're in charge of now selling the Outlaws.
Or
So I'm
selling the
hoping-
Valiant would be an option they would have too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather
I
them
w-
sell the Outlaws. I don't want to be an LA team.
I do think though, like I have a hard time being like wholeheartedly optimistic just because this is exactly what we thought when they played Vancouver and actually played pretty well against Vancouver at the beginning of stage 2. We're like, hey, like they look better.
Right.
Like
You
they
know
didn't win,
what
but
they
it's like a
did
top
there?
tier game.
They
played
played
DPS.
DPS comps. Yep, exactly.
But then they refused to do it the rest of the stage. So
Okay, if they come out next week without Linkser, I will riot. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we've talked.
Me and Linkser's mom were like, Twitter followers of each other. So we
I've
got
heard-
this.
I've heard she's
We're
got it
going
going
for
on.
it.
Is that still true? Or
I don't know. I've never actually met Linkser's mom, but she's a cool lady on Twitter. Okay.
All right. Well, let's talk about the conundrum that is the Dallas Fuel. The Dallas Fuel.
Hey,
They
they are
have
very
lost-
consistently inconsistent.
They have lost 7 matches in season 2. 6 of the 7 matches they have lost, they have been 4-0'd. Why? So Dallas only won 3-0 against the Justice, and they got 4-0'd against the Gladiators, which I thought was going to be a pretty good game. But why does the Dallas Fuel, when they lose, like they're one of the top teams in the league, but their map differential is just garbage because they literally, it's all or nothing. Like if they're going to lose, they're going to lose 4-0. And I don't get it because you look at some of the teams that have beat them 4-0 and you're just like, they could have at least taken a map here. Like, why does Dallas always lose 4-0? That's the question I want to ask you guys. Anybody jump in?
I think Dallas has good coaching. They have really, really, really good coaching. And so their coaching staff prepares them for the strategies that they need to implement, right? I think where they're lacking is that leadership on the stage. And there's not somebody there bringing them back into it when they're getting down. Like you don't have somebody like Fusion's like, hey guys, come on, we got to get this, we got to do this, blah 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 blah. Like
Or
Fusion's
somebody
like
like
Jake,
Mickey,
like
a rah-rah, a
right.
cheerleader is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
like,
I got you.
honestly, somebody, you don't have anybody because the coaches can't be there when you're losing. And the coaches can talk to you at halftime and try to hype you up, but you go out there, you start losing again, they can't talk to you. So like I think that's where Dallas is failing because when they start to lose, they lose hardcore. They go all in on losing. And they just can't seem to get it back. And I think that is a leadership on the team issue.
What do you think? I play or Ramses?
Yeah, they got really good players. Sometimes I think if it's like what you're saying, Mel, not only like leadership, but a disconnect, right? Because they're still one of the mixed rosters that we have out there, where like their main tank, OGE, then you have um RCK, right? That's the who they play with the
No,
Diva.
no,
Not anymore.
RCK
No.
got traded to
Oh yeah,
Boston.
yeah.
No.
They have
RCK's in
no,
Boston. They have Note. Okay, no, never mind.
but they do have
Closer,
Closer.
though.
Closer's
Yeah.
the Lucio player who
Yeah, they
is
have
Korean.
Closer, and then they have AKM, which is French, and I'm sure they all speak relatively good English and they can communicate. But I don't know if they have the unity that some of the other teams have. Like Vancouver Titans, for example, they're a family. Those guys been playing
See,
together forever. They speak the same language. They're like in it, in the same plan. And I don't want to say this about Dallas Fuel either, but it's not that they have a lack of talent. And I would say they're right now a very solid mid-tier team. They can beat like the bottom half of the teams, but they can't beat the top half.
Mm.
And it might be because of that. I don't know. Just speculation here.
as far as being a family, though, I have to disagree. I think the Dallas Fuel, as far as off of the stage, is one of the biggest families there is. And every time I've hung out with them, other players from other teams want to come hang too. Like, like it's like they foster this really family orientated, just they really truly like and I would even venture to say love each other, but something breaks down on stage.
Right,
From
but
an
it's not
unbiased
about
point
the
of
love
view,
or the chemistry though, but like you know, being one, being in the same mind, right? Because like how long have these players have been playing together? To me it's more like they've bonded because they've all come through different paths of life, and now this is the place that they're at. So of course, they're all have each other's back and they're gonna look after one another. But that synergy wasn't established beforehand. If that's I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Ramses,
yeah.
Well,
I
you
mean,
wanted
they
to
were
say something?
jumping back and forth too. So, but before Ramses goes, I will just say to comment on Bob's thought because he has a very biased point of view for the Dallas Fuel. I've also hung out with Dallas Fuel, and as much as it irks me, I do really like them and think that they're really cool people and they are
Everybody,
very
like
family-like.
everybody
Very
says
nice.
they love hanging out with the Dallas Fuel. Like
I'm
everybody
just
says it.
saying. Ugh.
So the thing with Dallas for me is that Dallas always, not always, this whole season, Dallas has been like the epitome of gatekeeper team, where they'll crush lower level teams. And then when we get to like upper level teams, like not even shocking Vancouver, but we're talking like Gladiators. At this point, I'm comfortable saying the Spark would roll Dallas Fuel. Who else? Like Atlanta, even I think would roll Dallas. Teams of that caliber are usually going to beat them pretty badly. And I agree that there might be a communication breakdown, but I don't know if I don't think it's a language barrier. I think everybody is a family and is a team. I think just realistically, you have a bunch of players that are on the bottom end of top tier, if I'm being honest. I think Unko is
I
a great.
disagree with that.
Well, but here's what I'm feeling. Like, I think everybody
AKM
you
broke
have
a
is really
record
good.
on, his last game. He broke a
Did they
energy
win the
record.
game?
Against, it
Yeah.
was against
they
the
win the game?
Justice.
Yeah.
It was against the Justice. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Like, that's the
True,
thing.
true.
Like, you have players that are really, really good, but I don't know if you necessarily have players that are going to put you over the edge when you're playing a top tier team. I still think
What you're saying is we don't have any carries.
I don't think you have any hard carries like you did last year with Effect. And then Effect has his own
I
thing.
mean, I can't argue with
But
that.
like, I like AKM. I really like the guy. And I think he I love that he's carved himself out this like space as leader for this team. But I don't know if he's necessarily capable of being a Sinatra. I don't know if he's capable of like holding that kind of space. And Salmon Sue, just somebody who's like, I'm leading this team forward. I think I hate to beat on the guy, but I think Zach is your weak link still.
I
And-
think Zach on Brig. I think Zach takes it for granted, and I think Zach doesn't play wholeheartedly, and I don't think he is dove into Brig like he should have. So I could definitely agree with that.
Like
Yeah.
that's my thing is that like you see like we get it. You don't like playing Brig. Like get over it. Like, you're in the league. I understand. Like, you're frustrated playing Brig. Everybody who plays Brig is frustrated except for Haxall for some reason. But Haxall like has dove in. Haxall's the best Brig in the game. I'm rambling on it, but like I think Zach is a weak link. I also agree that I feel like they're a team that tilts hard. They don't have like we were griping about Baby
Because
Bay.
they benched
And
him.
yeah, I think that's I think that tilting part is what has led to the 4-0s. But
Well,
we have talked a
Well,
lot about Dallas, though. If you guys want to get one last point in, get it in. But we should probably move on past.
I was just gonna say I agree with Ramses about Zach. Like that kid, it was hyped since the World Cup, and he's just never impressed me. Everyone was like, "No, you gotta wait. You gotta wait and watch this kid and
I
see
mean,
what
he
he does."
hasn't got to play DPS though. In my defense,
It
Okay,
doesn't matter.
true,
He can
true.
adapt.
good players
Like-
adapt and move forward.
tell that to EQO, the best DPS last year. He's not done very good on Brig, and he's trying. You know he's trying.
Yeah, but he's got a good attitude at least, and like he is there for his team. And I don't know, it's fine.
All right. Well, something else that I saw this week that was extremely cool, and I think they might be on to something if you could actually afford a roster of of two separate teams. But the Seoul Dynasty is running this, at least this week. They ran two completely separate rosters. 6 of their team played the first day, and then 6 of their team played the next. And I mean,
And they 4-0'd both games.
yeah. And if you think about this, this is brilliant because you have internal scrims. Boom. You can build synergy with those internal scrims. And then on the games, you have 2 games a week.
Well,
Each team prepares for the one game. And I mean, it is, like, if that's what they're going for, it is brilliant. So what did you guys think of this?
I
That's
just don't feel like we'll see it. I feel like that was the idea of Spitfire, and it went to the wasteland, right?
Yeah, but
Because
Spitfire was mixing and matching, though. They didn't play the 2 separate Gigi Busan
they
and
did initially,
whatever rosters. I don't
and then
think
they were
did.
like,
they did it initially.
no,
Did
they did, and then they were like, no, we can't sub out this tank, so we'll put in this support and try that, right? And like, so I feel like eventually you're gonna get to a point where you're like, no, this player is just better than this other player. We're gonna play them all the time, right? Then you get this kind of mix in between. I just don't feel like 2 6-6 separate teams is the answer. I think it's cool. I think I like the idea. I know they 4-0'd. They played Charge and Mayhem though, so like, good job, but not great.
I will say, remember that's what they did when they beat New York, though, is that they came out hot with the lineup that they hadn't seen before.
Right. But if you play 2 teams consistently, you're going to see both lineups consistently, right? So maybe you don't know which lineup to prepare for, and maybe that's a good strategy.
It's
but
like
how
it's
long can
2
you...
teams you have to prepare for. You know what I mean?
Right, but how long can you play
No.
that card? Like, how long can you play the
how many
mystery card?
how many swaps can you make per game? Can you swap out your entire roster mid match? Actually, I haven't
don't
thought
I
about
know,
was
it.
gonna I
actually.
was gonna bring that up later if you didn't. It's gonna bring
I
out.
think it's.
You go to halftime and then all of a sudden, boom! You put the other roster in, and they're like, "What
I
is
think you
going
just-
on?"
You just have to have it preset. I think before you go into the game that you're gonna do that,
Okay, I will
I don't
say
think you have to have it preset for every match. Do you?
right? I think
'Cause if you do, that's crappy.
you probably have to have a starting lineup, right? Do you have to
Yeah, you have
announce
to
your
have your
starting
start.
lineup?
You do,
Yeah.
but the other team doesn't get to see. Like you put the
Yeah,
card
right.
in, but the other team doesn't get to see that. And I don't know if they can make changes on the fly if someone's not
No,
performing.
they have to do in between rounds. I'm pretty sure.
But
Or in
like if
between
you
maps.
if like after halftime you could put anybody in. Like it doesn't have to be who you submitted. Correct?
We're gonna
No, I'm
actually
pretty-
we're gonna ask Brick to ask. We're gonna try and get a coach on for an interview and ask.
Yeah,
we're
'cause I
gonna
don't know
use
if
that
it's
as
a hard
as a
limit.
question.
Like some sports have a hard limit, right? Like where you can only sub like 4
Yeah.
people over the course of the match. So I don't know how it would happen over here because of the same reason, right? You were saying, Bob, you can pretty much have 2 teams playing right now if there's no limit at this point. But like Mel was saying, it is kind of a double-edged sword because no matter what, you're gonna have one player that excels at one thing over the other player, right? If you have two teams, 6-6, one of them is gonna have the better Reinhardt. Not to say that both Reinhardts can't be really good, but maybe the other guy is at better Orisa or something like that. So that being said, you could specialize your teams, I guess, a little bit. And as long as you can make hard swaps and change the entire roster, I think you'd be good. Because if you're like, okay, against this team, we need a better goats, boom, swap to the roster for goats, then you're good. But if you are limited to the number of swaps that you can make, what if you make the wrong read, right? What if you're like, oh man, I wish we had the goats team right now. We have the bunker team out in the field. So I don't know. It can come down to hurt you unless everyone on your team is like top caliber. But then again, you have to groom 12 top tier talent, although they're
Yep.
picking for
And
Korea.
yeah,
So
well, that was what I was saying. Like, if you could actually have 12 people that are starting caliber, you know.
mhm.
Well, and I think that it'd be different if they had people who could only play one comp. But if I remember correctly, they just had like both separate teams were both playing goats. I think it's just that Michelle gives you the flexibility to switch to Diva, but it's not at all necessarily. It's not at all like his crutch hero he has to play.
Mhm.
So I think
They've
it
always
really
got
just
this
comes down
like
to play
next
style.
level play since like last season where they were trying to like put certain players for very strategic reasons and like they were trying to read into the teams and it backfired like really bad on them last stage or not last stage but last
Last
season.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last season it really backfired for them. At one point they had like Ryu Hong playing on Winston and like some crazy stuff like that.
Ryu J. Kong.
Yes.
So they've honestly been the team to try like this crazy stuff. So far I guess it's working for them, but like Mel said, it was Charge and Mayhem, which are not the biggest challenges. I would like to see what they are trying to do against some of the better teams, right? Like what when they go against Shock, Excelsior, Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see. Like, one of my biggest takeaways from it is if they did it to where they could just have the two separate teams playing, you know, in their double week matches. Like, one team just prepares solely for that team that they're playing. It's almost like they're two teams, which I think going forward could be extremely beneficial.
In the long run, this could pay off greatly because in the long run, all of these teams are gonna want to have a full roster of 12 people that hopefully can do this, right? That everybody can be replaced by a sub if needed be, and hopefully of around the same caliber. And the closer or the more we have the game out, the more the league is out. I feel like the more true that'll be, right? Like more and more talent will eventually join, and the overall level of everyone is just going to increase, right?
Yep, yeah,
But
it'll
do you
become
think
more
that if
established.
they're but do you think if they're doing two separate teams that they would seamlessly be able to swap into the other team, right? Because if they have separate styles and separate gameplay and they're completely playing on separate teams within the same team, you've got two separate like cohesive units and you try to put one into the other and it's like bringing Sleepy to the justice, right? It's like, okay. Like, good job, right?
No, yeah, it would
But
have to be seamless. They would have to know all of their strategies, all of the positions, how everyone
right.
is playing. Yeah, they have to be on the same page, basically.
Yeah, they basically have to be one team, but two separate teams. And I think inevitably what you're going to get with that is an A and a B team. You're going to get an A team who's going to play the other A team that week if you have two games that week. And then you're going to have the B team. And those B team players are eventually going to get semi annoyed. They're B
See,
team players.
and I just disagree with you on that because the amount of parity we've seen in season 2 where this awesome team beats all these awesome teams, but this team that's not as good beats this team, like it's been really weird. So if they actually get two different strengths for those two different rosters, then they'll play it based on the strengths. I
But
think.
how long can you keep that up? Like, I mean, somebody's going to offer you a lot of money for one of those people on one of those two teams,
I mean, they
and
were
you're
trying
probably
this
going to
last
take it,
season, so
right?
this might be their strategy going forward, honestly.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the
They're,
difference
they're
is
just
that
going to sell expansion teams. All right, Washington Justice. What do you
There
want?
you go.
Honestly,
What do
Never
you
be
want
teams.
for our
a
Fisher
bad-
roster, baby?
not a bad
Give us,
investment. That's
show
what,
me the
like,
money.
That's what
Well,
the most popular soccer clubs do. They groom talent since they're like little kids. They make them into superstars, and then they sell them for millions of dollars.
I mean, it's what Huck does with almost everybody on that team.
You can't sell children, Andres. Like,
I mean, not
It's
technically
not- it's
sell
not a
children,
thing.
you know.
I do think that the other thing we're realizing is that players are a lot more accepting and content to realize, again, if it's an A and a B roster, but realizing what their place is as far as where they're going to be in the roster and what kind of role they
That's a
serve.
good point.
I know that we keep expecting to hear every other week some sort of leak that Fisher's super mad that he's not starting all the time, or Zumba's super mad that he's not like
Well,
starting
Fisher
anymore.
in an interview after a match did say it was really rough for me at the start, but I've come to terms with it and understand that they're trying to do the best thing for the team, which is a big step for Fisher, to be honest.
we'll see if
Yeah.
he's still there next year. Let's be real here.
Oh, we'll see if he's there next year at all. But like, I just don't. I think people are a lot more accepting of where they fit within a team and how they can best contribute to the organization. This season, at least, I think they've been around the system long enough to realize that, like, if I'm not out there starting every single game, it's all right as long as I go and serve my team the best. It's one of the things we heard about. Like, we have a player with Shock and all their DPS where like players like Baby Bay who are like, oh, like I'm good enough to start another team, but I'm happy to be here and support my team and push them forward and be like the hype guy in the back who really pushes the team forward. So I
No,
think
and
it,
I totally agree. And like to your point, Mel, if the players are having an ego attack where they're like, if I'm not in the starting lineup, I want to leave. That's not the sort of caliber of player that you're looking for. And those players get shunned away, like Fisher, for example. And the truth is, like, there's you have to have a limit to your ego. It's good to think highly of yourself. It's good to think that you're the best, because to be the best, you gotta believe that you're the best, right?
You got to
Um,
believe.
But at the point
just
where
gotta believe.
you're putting that before everyone else in the team, then you're getting a little bit out of hand, right?
I agree with that. I agree that like you have to have a limit to your ego and that you can't destroy a team because you want to be the starter. But I also think you have to think about the fact that esports is a short-term career, right? Like you're not now Ri Hong maybe has proved us wrong and would like to say that he's going to still play at such a top level in the next 10 years, but we will see that, right? All I'm saying is that it's a short career, and if you
So
spend
is
it riding
every
the
sports
bench,
career, though, almost.
correct. So if you spend it riding the bench and helping your team get better, you're not showing anybody else the value of your skills. And if you have the potential to start on another team and make a difference, you should take that, because you being on the best team on the bench does you not much.
Well, and
except
that's
for a
why.
paycheck. You
That'll
being on
come
a
That's
down-
why the Soul
worst
Dynasty
team?
have found the right sauce. If this is what they're doing, everybody's gonna get to start. Like,
Okay,
that's what I'm
correct. So when was
saying.
the last time you
Well,
saw
that'll
a
come
basketball
down
team that
to-
swapped teams every week? You saw a football team that swapped teams every week. Like that's not a thing.
The
Like,
model
that just
doesn't
happen.
yeah, the model isn't conducive of it. The football teams, I mean, like, there's only about 20 quarterbacks that actually are NFL caliber playing for NFL teams. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't find
Correct,
those
and you
players.
could say the same thing about the Reinhardt players, right?
And that'll come
Like-
down to each player individually. I think that if you are a player that it's out for the glory and you want the recognition, you want the spotlight, then
It's
Does
not
that
even the
give you a
glory though.
decision?
It's your future. Because say you help this team go through 2 years of being successful, and then they're like, "Well, I don't need you on the bench draining a paycheck from me every week. I'm going to let you go." And then what do you have to get back into the game? You don't have anything, right? Because
Well,
nobody knows what you've
know
been
you keep
doing.
Why-
for the
making my
last
point
2
for
years.
me, though, with
why
Soul.
are they letting you go though? What are they like? That's the point though. If you've been riding the bench for 2 years and then they're letting you go, like what was it that you were missing that didn't get you in the first place? And you might decide as a player, hey, I don't want this to happen. Let me look for an opportunity in a lower tier team where maybe I can be the star. But honestly, if you're not the star in the highest level team, then you're not gonna be the start in the lowest level team either. You might get some spotlight, but at the same
But you're
time,
also not going to improve because you don't have that opportunity, right? Like
but you're
if
playing
you
with the
go,
best.
you put Sleepy on Washington Justice because he's not better than Twilight, right? Are you telling me that Sleepy should have stayed on Shock?
I think if I was
Not
sleeping, I would have
Twilight.
stayed on Shock.
Wait, who
Sleepy's
is it?
also
Aim
a
God. Aim God,
Violet.
right?
Violet.
Okay.
Sleepy's also a separate case though, because Sleepy is somebody who we've known has been very vocal for a long time. I don't think Sleepy's syndrome applies to everybody. I do think though that it's a two-part question, because part of it is you want to keep your name just in the public conversation. You want to have recent tape of you playing. It's why we're watching. I don't know if you guys saw today, but Kodak, who's the backup flex support for Atlanta Reign, just went of his own volition, decided I'm going to play for Atlanta Academy. And again,
Right.
it's about like putting your name out there. You want to be
Two-way
out.
contract.
You guys
No,
just keep
not even.
making my point for me. The
I
Soul
agree with you,
Dynasty, if they keep this going, their 12-man roster, nobody rides the bench. Everybody gets playtime. It's awesome.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's unrealistic
It
because
is.
you're just not gonna play every player in your bench in every team at like giving equal opportunity. Like every team is gonna make the decision on their own.
Unless
Everybody's
they're
gonna
two
have a
separate
backup quarterback.
rosters. Unless they're
Well-
two separate rosters.
I'm saying there
Bye-bye.
has to be a backup and a starter system. Like I just don't think that there's any way around that.
I don't
Oh, for
think
sure.
so. But
I don't.
we need
I don't
to
think there's enough talent
move
there to
on
do it.
from
Wait, let
this.
Ramses finish though. I interrupted him. I'm sorry.
Well, I agree with you, Bob, that like I think there's going to be a couple teams, not that many, but there's going to be a couple teams who are going to try and do two separate rosters. And there is enough contenders talent where you could reasonably do that. The problem is that it's just not feasible at this point, because what visa issues are, what team synchronization issues are, there's always another player who's more attractive than contenders that's going to be cheaper that you can pick up. And at the same time, it just makes more like fiscal sense and just like player utility sense just to learn more heroes, just to have players who learn multiple comps that they can go in, or who are more adaptable. Because
Well,
I love the idea of having two separate rosters, but like you're not gonna be able to afford 12 contracts versus maybe 8 or 9.
and going forward, when we go regional, like you really need to watch Seoul, because Seoul's going to be able to pull Korean talent a lot cheaper than anyone else because they're in their hometown, and that's going to be pretty big for
Well,
them.
That and they have the infrastructure for it. All their coaching staff, all their players, all the stuff is in Korean. So if they're gonna grab talent, where they're going for.
Yep. But the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is the Hunters not faring so well against other
No.
DPS comps. There's a lot of us who talked about this who wondered, how good Jinmu's, Pharah would be against another Pharah, and they lost to the Charge and to the Valiant this week, and 0-4 against the Valiant and 1-3 against the Charge. Hunters might be seeing a problem if other people, because there's a ton of teams that have DPS talent that they could just copy what was done against them. Like, where are the Hunters going to fall now that people are kind of realizing the chink in that armor?
Hunters is one of those teams that was a novelty, right? It was really fun watching them playing
word.
compositions against teams that were not playing those kind of compositions. They were a fresh breath of air into the league. That being said, I think I'm with you. They were just not the top talent of those heroes. And when they get matched, when other teams know what they're going against and they know what they're going to pull off, then, they can adapt. And some of the other teams are a little bit better on the DPS there.
Mel, I know you're
What?
a huge fan of the Hunters.
I love the Hunters. I still love the Hunters. 1 week doesn't decide it all. People, okay? They were still fun and they were still exciting to watch. So I think the Hunters, just like people coming out with DPS comps now, right? Like they can go goats be goats somebody and fail, and then they come out on DPS and they're like hype. They're like, "Whoa, I'm gonna do it!" Right? And then the hunters are like kind of in this like routine of like nobody ever plays DPS against us, so we don't really have to practice against DPS. And then people bring it against them, right? So I don't think it's a testament to that they're not as good at DPS comps as they have been. I think it's just a testament to that they were thrown off guard. They weren't ready for it. They didn't get it done. It's fine. We'll watch them next week, and they're still going to be fun to watch. Okay.
I just wish they would bring Clockwork Vendetta comp into Overwatch League. Like somebody just do it. Just play
my
some,
God.
just try
Houston.
something new.
Houston.
Do you think? Do you
Tell-
think we could talk
No.
Yankee into running that next weekend on our sixes, please?
Oh, I'm sure. It's actually
100% no.
help, please
Real-
help me, because Yankees could be like, I don't want to do that.
Real talk. Can you
He has to
imagine?
play May and Tor, but he's absolutely gonna do it.
Real talk. Can you imagine Houston Outlaws running that comp with Jake on Torb and Linkser on May? Like
Just somebody
it could
play
be
Can
pretty
Muma on
great.
Symmetra? Can Muma play Symmetra, please?
Everyone in the league is so afraid to try new stuff because they're
That's the
afraid of
truth.
losing.
so.
And everyone's just plays super safe. They're like, goats is the king. We gotta learn goats. And like
What
fair,
the issue is,
fair.
the
You
issue
do,
is
you
that
do. But you can also try things.
you don't have to. Those top teams, they're not going to switch until you force them to switch. So we've got 4 top teams.
I'm not
right?
talking about the top teams. I'm talking about
I don't
everyone.
even-
That's what I'm
That's the
saying. It's
top.
like we've got those 4 top teams. They're going to play goats. That's fine. Do it until somebody proves to them that you can't beat me on goats. And that's up to the plethora of teams that are in the mid tier or low tier. I don't care. Like you've got 2 wins. Freaking go for something. Like, what are you going to do with your life right now? Like, try to practice goats again? Like, it's not working for you, and you're already out of the playoff situation. So, try something new.
Justice rocked Dallas on the map that they tied using DPS comp. Like they came in and like Dallas was on goats and they just rocked them on Volskaya.
So we just talked. I understand we're saying that everybody's only playing goats. New York played Sombra this week. We also saw Houston run the Jake Rat a little bit as well.
Oh,
we
yeah,
saw a
we
little
did
bit
see
of-
Jake Rat.
We saw a little bit of Bunker. We're seeing subtle changes in the meta. Again,
We are,
Vancouver
for sure.
and San Francisco, I don't expect them to run anything else because at this point, why show any other pocket strat that you have in your back pocket? I do
You
think
don't have
though-
to.
Yeah, you don't have to. I agree. It's the we're seeing a little bit of experimentation because at this point, I think teams are realizing we need to make the run for it. I think Houston specifically because it's the easiest stage they're going to have at all when you play Florida, Washington, and then I think you play Florida again or Washington.
Okay,
You play
well,
one of those teams twice,
We played New York, and next week we play Shock.
and then we play Washington, Paris, Boston, and like Florida. Either way,
Why are we
we're
back
seeing-
to Houston? I am
Either way,
going to
Because you
start
have two
muting
Houston
people.
fans.
I'm going
We're
to start
seeing
muting
a-
people.
please don't. I told Ed I wouldn't get muted, but we're seeing a little bit of variation. I don't expect a lot of variation because realistically, goats is still just the easy cut and paste comp, and that's what we're going to be stuck with. But I do think that some teams, when they can get away with it, are going to try something new. They're not going to run it all the time, especially when they're playing one of the top tier teams. But I think that we're going to see subtle variation. We're not going to see complete meta overhaul, but we're going to see maybe 3 supports, 2 tanks, and 1 DPS.
To be fair, it's expected that Owl is going to be the slowest moving meta because there's money on the line. There's
Lot
jobs
of
on the
money.
line. There's, a lot of pressure for all of this. So everyone's hyper scared of making a mistake, right? Nobody wants to be the team that they're like pointing the fingers at and being like, yeah, you guys are not doing good. But
But literally,
I
if
do
you've only
miss
won
the
2
freedom.
games, like you're not doing good.
Right. And
So-
no, but that's what I'm saying. They're scared to try things like unlike contenders or even like open division where there's no stakes. Like open division is such a breeding ground of like whatever is happening. You get people that are just friends that are decided like, hey, we're good at Torb, we're good at May, Bunker is kind of cool. Let's just put that stuff together and let's see what happens.
Give it a shot.
Oh, look at that. We just won open division.
And made it into contenders.
Yeah, and it's super interesting because it's one of those compositions that nobody would have thought was good until somebody who was good at those heroes decided to try it out. It turns out it's actually quite good against goats. I don't know if it's like the goats killer, but I personally would think it would be fun watching some of these top players putting in the time and the effort, kind of like Chengdu Hunters, where they were like, all these people running goats, let's just go Hammond triple DPS, which is a valid comp. Um, I don't
Listen,
know.
though, the fact that Hunters got their Reinhardt finally here on his visa, like it makes me a little sad because I think that they're gonna run more goats.
And you're right. You do see more things than goats right now in the league. You see a little bit of bunker, the Hammond triple DPS. You see a lot of Sombra variants in a lot of the comps. So it's not like we're like hard stuck on one composition. No, we get a lot of variability here and there. Um, but we haven't found that meta breaker, right? We
Mhm.
haven't found like a team that really tries something completely different. I was
They
actually
do.
really happy. Well, kind of. I
And
was
could they
actually really
beat any of the
happy
top
with the Fran when he played Torbjorn. Like that was ballsy and kind of fun too, like he knew that he could pull it off. He was an amazing Torb, and he did, and it worked because nobody was expecting that. And he played it in a way that made sense, right? To counter the opposition. And I wish some more teams had those balls, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, let's just do it. We're good at this. Let's go. Let's try it. If we lose,
Let's go,
well,
dude.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be cool. I do say I think Ramsey's is right. We have seen some changes. It would have been nice if the league would have got the other balance patch in. We would have seen even more changes probably. But
Maybe.
either
Maybe.
way, like it is getting a little better. And it was a pretty exciting weekend. But that's gonna end the show for tonight, guys. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at @OwlRecap. If you want to say something a little bit longer, send your emails to contact@owlrecap.com. You can also find us squatting in the Omnic Lab Discord. You can join that by typing discord.me/OmnicLab. We had game night 2 weeks ago, and it was hopping. Like it was 3 lobbies for the majority of the time. For PC, it was wild and fun. And the game night this week is going to be on the 28th, or this month is going to be on the 28th. iPlay, why don't you tell us a little bit about game night?
Yeah, come to game night is one of the best places to come hang out and play Overwatch. Get to talk to Bob, Mel, and me. Some of our guests are also in the game night every once in a while. It's a great place to just get to know people, play Overwatch, and have a good time. So stay on the lookout for that. Join the Omnic Lab Discord and wait till the last Friday of the month. That's when we all come together.
And
I
Rob
know I've
said
been.
some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I've actually been coming to the last couple of Omnic Lab game nights, and I've been bringing some friends into them as well, and it's been super fun.
Nice.
It's been the most fun I've had playing Overwatch in the past like year or so. Like, great
Oh, I'm
people,
glad to hear that.
super casual atmosphere, but also like it's super fun, like constructive. But, like, there's a little bit of trash talk in there as well. Like, it's great. I love it.
It's
Only
unavoidable.
when you play on Bob's team.
See, I feel
Especially when
bad.
you're playing with the same people over and over, you just feel good when you finally beat them. or
Bob
something
hasn't
like
been
that.
toxic for like 6 months of game night, so
Well, like,
I
my
beg to
bummer is-
differ.
My bummer is that, like, I'm West Coast, so by the time I finally get home from work and I get on, like, you guys are all asleep, and so like I don't even get to play with you guys.
Not true. We're
No,
all like
usually it goes to
way
like 3 in the
intoxicated
morning.
on adult beverages.
Yeah.
I mean,
So kind of
I'm-
asleep.
I've played till close the last couple times, and you guys haven't been anywhere. So
Okay, we've
Well, I
been taking
played
it
for
easy.
7 hours this last one. So you
Yeah.
like, but there was 3 lobbies. You might have just been in a different lobby. I try
what
to
I'm saying,
jump
I think.
around to the lobbies, but sometimes I can't. But if you want to be in our lobbies, you'll see our name. Just jump in.
Oh, for sure. I always time it like just wrong, just to get there.
But you can find us every week on Mondays, usually at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 Pacific on twitch.tv/OwlRecap. You can find us on almost every podcatcher. Just search Owl Recap or search Overwatch League. You're going to find us pretty easily towards the top. Lastly, how can you help us? Always just listening to the show. Al's been a little a little, I'd say, lackluster after the No 222. We've seen a drop in numbers, so we appreciate everybody that listens and comes every week. Thank you so much. If you want to do something a little more, you can leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, and we usually read those on the show. If you feel compelled to help us even more, you can go to patreon.com/owlrecap and just help us out financially. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into running the show, and there's a lot of stuff we just have to pay. Libsyn is actually not cheap, but it's a really nice service. But if you want
The
to help
hidden
us
costs
out,
of podcasting.
yeah, if you want to help us out with that, like, we're definitely not making money, guys. So if you want to help us out with just some of the costs to do this labor of love that we do, please go to patreon.com/owlrecap. All right, Mel, where can we find you?
Well, first I want to shout out the Washington Justice
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Vice and Virtue fan club. I don't know what to call them. Sorry. They sent me a message saying that they have, it's called like Stand as One official supporters of group merchandise, and they've taken a lot of the groups from a lot of the different teams. So we've got like the Toronto Alpha Fight, the Shockwaves, the Deadly Venoms, the Vice and Virtue, the Chaos Crew, the Royal Family, and the 214, which I guess is Dallas. So all of those have merchandise available now with their like logos and things on them at raven.gg.
Oh, very
So
cool.
yeah, we'll put it in the show notes, but it's super cool. Like, just another way to support your local fan group and team.
Well,
But
and
for me, go
yeah,
ahead.
just a teaser. We're gonna have Pokemon Panda from the Washington Justice fan group on next week.
Well, good. Maybe he can give you more information. So that's all I got. But for me, you can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch. And yeah,
All right, I play. What about you?
If you want to find me, you can do so on Twitter at I Play Games. You spell that IPLAI Games.
And Ramses, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ramses_OW. And you can find the podcast that I do with another person who's been on the show, my good buddy Labasco. You can find us doing Push the Point every Monday. Well, we record it every Monday. It comes out on Tuesdays. We don't do it live. But you can find the show, of course, at PushPointPod on Twitter. And yeah, very happy to finally be on. So I feel so at home just hanging out with you guys again. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. You can also find Push the Point on mashthosebuttons.com. You can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. That's been it, guys. We've been us. You've been you. We love Overwatch, and we'll see you next week.
bye.
Later.